Welcome to the Redvee TV show, supported by Chapel House Cars for the 2024 season. And on this week's show, it's a short turnaround as we build up to this Thursday's clash against the Salford Red Devils at the Totally Wicked Stadium. Kev, can you please stay at home?
Yeah, I'm going to ban myself from going. The only reason I'm doing this is because we're still unsure if Dave Howarth did actually get out the stadium on Sunday. Did he make it home? Who knows?
He got out the stadium, he got on the coach, but did the coach get locked in? That is the question.
Since coming back after a little bit of time away, the 5 games I've been to, we've lost. And the games when I was off, we won. And then the game last weekend, that I couldn't make, we won as well. So maybe it's me.
It's you. It's you. The monkey's off the back, Kev. We stopped the rot at 5. And the run to the grand final started on Saturday.
I've seen people being very enthused by the results. And listen, you can only play what's ahead of you, but Hull have been more decimated than we have by injuries this year, and you've got to put it into some context. I think it's great for the squad to get that win and to get a win so handsomely, but it's not like we were coming up against a massive, massive test. And obviously, this Thursday match against Salford, they've beaten us twice already this season. This is another couple of steps up from that whole team.
It goes back to what we always say, Kev. We're never the greatest team in the world. Well, we were last year.
We were last year, yeah.
But it's never as bad as you think either. And Saints fans only have them 2 modes, don't they? There's never any in between with a lot of fans.
Yeah, we are either the worst in the world or we're complete world beaters who'd be able to win everything, including the Super Bowl, Eurovision Song Contest, and bring world peace about. And you see a lot of that over social media. We're in a privileged position to see a lot of stuff coming into us and follow a lot of Saints fans on. I know I do on my own personal Twitter or X account. And you see the flip-flop in between, and you understand it because it's such an instant gratification thing, social media, that you can put your thoughts straight out there without kind of necessarily having to think about it and then kind of have a chat about it as time goes on. But you're right, while we'd lost 5 in a row and things were looking bad, and rightly so, people started to question things within the club. It's only right that people are allowed that opinion and that platform to do so. We weren't ever going to go the rest of the season without winning a game. It's just not what happens in sport. So we've won the whole one. I can see you almost smirking there as if to say we're going to lose the next game.
I was going to say. You were a little bit confident when I was looking at the fixture list thinking, where's that next win coming from? But we did talk about mitigating circumstances, didn't we? And Saturday, we got a couple of players back, Morgan Knowles especially, and we instantly look a better team.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Better players make better performances and hopefully better results.
Yeah, and I think it allows you to use players, as you say, to the full ability. So James Bell, absolutely fantastic player, great player. Having him in the 17 is a must from week to week to week. Yeah, he might get a week off here and there, just as we rotate. But him coming off the bench is much more important to us than him starting. Morgan Knowles doesn't half solidify you in defence at 13. And then James Bell comes on. I think he made over 200 metres against Hull on Saturday. But he can come on and he can bring that energy. He's not got the first 20 minutes in his legs. He probably then doesn't get taken off the field as well. He does that hour. But he brings you that spark. He's able to play off the back of the platform that's been laid. That's when we see James Bell at his best. I'm not saying he can never start a game ever again for Saints, but I think you just see the best of him when he comes off that interchange bench. Some players just are that player. I think Louis made loads and loads of appearances off the bench because he brought you pace and he brought that energy and enthusiasm. And it's a similar, in some ways, completely different in others, thing that James Bell brings you when he comes off the bench.
It is. And if you're an opposition player and after 15, 20 minutes, obviously you're not one of the players who are going to be interchanging coming off, your energy's dipping a little bit. And you look to the sideline and you see James Bell striding onto the field. You've got to be thinking, oh, really? I've got that to deal with now. There is an argument to say, as you've just said, if James Bell started on Saturday, would he have still made 200 plus meters?
Well, against that whole team, possibly might have made more. But you're right. Does he then have the impact and people talking about him and people saying how well he's played? Does he have that if he has to do 80 minutes? And he has to do 80 minutes at second row and he's just stuck on one side. He's not coming on and being able to play through the middle. He's not being able to, he might get shifted out over there, but he can play the game that he is best at. And I think sometimes when you get people saying, oh, we need to start him, you need to play him in his best role. And I think at the moment, his best role, I think, again, reading a little bit into that whole thing, that whole game, his best position is coming off the bench. It is coming off the bench. And there's no shame in that. The game has changed so much these days. The full 17 is important. Say that with the caveat that we haven't used all 17 sometimes this season. But the full 17 should be important. So once you've got that energy and that ability, because I bet if you went to a load of Saints fans and said, who's your top 3 players of the year, you would get a good amount of Saints fans having James Bell in that 3. Because he's been consistently there, he's been consistently performing, and he is an integral part of our matchday squad.
Very well said. Now, let's...
The James Bell appreciation.
Can't believe we're not moaning this week. Must have got it all out last week.
We'll see.
Squad then, Kevin.
Yeah, 2 changes and 2 changes that are very, very positive. Mark Percival comes back in after his enforced sit-down last week, which I don't think, in hindsight, is the worst thing that could have happened to Mark, having a week off and just letting his body rest from the rigours of match day. And obviously, that man pictured there is back in, Alex Walmsley, and they replace Will Roberts and Johnny Vaughan.
I thought... I thought Johnny Vaughan was unlucky to miss out on Saturday, and he's missed out on the squad this week with Mark Percival coming back in. Who does Percy come in for you, Kevin?
I think he's going to come in for Ben Davies. I think he just slots straight in onto that left-hand side. Paul isn't a man for changing lots and lots of positions week in, week out. And I almost see him going with the Makinson, Blake, Percival, Ritson line across the 3 quarters. We said last week that maybe Blake should be sat down for a week. I think I based that on
week.
Well, at least I base it on now. Easy. When you sit the likes of Lewis Dodd down because they're not doing what you need them to. Not sure Blake did in the past couple of weeks to warrant a then move from wing to centre. So I think Percy just comes straight in to the left centre position for Ben Davies.
See, obviously Percy comes straight back in. I would keep Ben Davies in the team all day, every day over Wonga Blake. There's more effort, there's more enthusiasm, and I think his performances deserve him to keep the shirt over Blake. Do I think that'll happen? Probably not. It almost feels like name and import status gets him a shirt. If Wonga was from Widnes, and it was between him and Ben Davies. I don't think he'd be playing this week, but I think that there is an element of salary dictates he plays.
Possibly I said this last week that it shouldn't, but it probably does. There's probably a little bit more to it than the easy. We're not actually making these decisions, but we're just having a chat about it. Yeah, I haven't seen anything from him in the weeks previous that said he should be treated any different to the likes of Lewis Dodd getting dropped out. If Lewis Dodd's getting dropped out because he's not doing what the coaching staff want him to, then I thought that would be a perfect way of just saying, yeah, we're sitting him down for a bit.
Yeah.
The one thing, again, I want to say is, once again, I saw someone, and they're entitled to this opinion, saying Ben Davies is the worst player he's ever seen pull a Saints shirt on. How long has that person been watching? 5 minutes? Because I've seen a lot of dross come through in my time watching Saints since 1990. Ben Davies wouldn't even get into the conversation of the dross that we've seen come through. I don't get it at all. I think it's just that easy, cheap scapegoat that you can have from a lad who has got a number 21 shirt for a reason. He's not wearing number 3 or number 4, is he? And is one of his starting centres. I just think it's easy, it's cheap, and it's completely uncalled for.
You absolutely do not stay around a 4 in a row Super League winning squad with getting the appearances that he has had if you are not a worthwhile squad member. And he's been fought so by Christian Wolf, Justin Holbrook. I'm a fan of Ben Davies for what he actually does for the club. And I think he's severely underappreciated. In recent weeks, when we've had so many players out, to have somebody as versatile as Ben to be able to play in the back line, move into the halves if needed, and just get on with his job, I do actually think some of the abuse he's had is absolutely disgusting.
Especially when he's an unfussy player. He seems like someone who's not going to bring you any issues. Well, we've just spoke about someone who has brought issues earlier in the season. Well documented across social media that there's been issues with players. Well, the ones that are actually true anyway. And Ben Davies isn't that type of player for me. He just looks like a lad who, is he the best player? Is he ever going to get in one of your favourite or best Saints teams ever? No. Will his career probably be somewhere else long term? Yes, I think so. I think once he might want first team rugby at the end of this year, which is fair enough, because he probably won't get that at Saints. I think he'll always be that kind of was 14 to 21 throughout the season.
Yeah, 2022 he scored 8 tries in 16 appearances. 2023, 2 tries in 11 appearances. 2024, he's made 10 appearances so far. He's the sort of player in our squad who, when everyone's fit, is making 10 to 15 appearances.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, people are judging him based on the fact that he's had such a big run in the team because we've had so many injuries. Whereas normally he would be one of the squad players who comes in and dips in and out as and when they're needed. But you don't notice him as much at that point because he's surrounded by the first team. But when you've got so many players out and you're relying on him potentially being as a strike centre, which he isn't, fair to say, people don't appreciate what he actually does. But
yeah,
I still keep him in the team this week.
Yeah, I'm not here to be the Ben Davies fan club either. I just think sometimes what you read is that instant gratification of someone just putting out something there that you think, why? Where's your win from that? What you're trying to get? Is it for cheap likes?
What was the comment, Kev? Worst player to ever don a Saints shirt.
The worst player they've ever seen in a Saints shirt.
Dan Norman.
They must have been watching the game 5 minutes.
Dan Norman is
tricky.
In the last 12 months is a worse. Dan Norman now can't even get a shirt at Lee. Anyway, right. If Big Al comes back in, who drops out there?
I think it's a tough one. I genuinely do. Because do you use Batch as a middle forward? Do you put Morgan Knowles in there in the second half once you've got James Bell in? And that would mean possibly Noah Stevens sits down for a bit. Jake Burns has done himself absolutely no harm in being your second choice hooker at the moment, at least for the next two games. I think it's a tough one because you could always say, I hate this, Morgan Knowles can drop in at 9 if need be. I think it's between Jake Burns and Noah Stevens who sits down, unless we do rotation, which I think once you get past Wigan at Magic, I think you've got to start looking at. You've got to start looking at giving Matty Lees a week off. That's probably coming when we play Cass. And I know they beat us last time, but you probably look at that game that you can. Injuries and suspensions, kind of like whatever comes our way on them fronts.
Yeah.
If you go with full strength, it's got to be between Burns and Stevens.
I think you've got to look at your squad balance and how you use your interchange. And for me this week, I think Noah will get a week off. Maybe he might be just take him out the firing line for a couple of weeks. I know you spoke or have spoke so passionately about how we use George Delaney, and you don't want to see him burnt out, and
yeah,
you get niggling injuries that come when you're so young and you play so many games. Noah's had a good stint in the team now. Done absolutely fantastic. Every game he plays, he's getting rave reviews. It might be a week just to say, have a minute, take him out the firing line. I think Jake Burns showed enough against Hull on Saturday to say he deserves a run. He deserves another a go at hooker, because I feel like he actually offered us something different coming off the bench. And again, that allows Daryl Clark to have 15-20 minutes off.
Yeah.
So I think Jake Burns has done enough to solidify a place in the squad this week. I think the others who miss out, I think Sam Royal misses out again. I think John Bennison misses out again.
Yeah.
And then it's Wonga or Ben Davis.
And it's probably going to be Ben, I'd imagine. I'd imagine it will be Ben Davis. I think Wonga will keep his place.
Yeah. And then do you bring Big Al off the bench? Obviously, you just try and give him 15-20 minutes.
Yeah, I think you do.
He probably plays the minutes Noah's been playing, usually, where he does the 10 or 15 before half-time, 10 minutes after. And they're the minutes you give him.
Yeah, I think so. I think you kind of, you're easing him into it, aren't you? I think that's what you've got to do. I think it makes a lot of sense too, especially, no offence to, I mean, Big Al's still younger than me, but when you've got someone in their career who is...
Big Al's just you without glasses.
and he's got her, and he's like about a foot taller than me, yeah.
If you put a syrup on your head, Kev, and took your glasses off, you would be Big Al.
I would not be Big Al. Yeah, I think you've got to look after him. You've got to look after these players. Again, I go back to Percy having a sit down and it not being the worst thing, save for Johnny Lomax. So you've got to look after these players, especially when they're coming back from injury. You talk about looking after players. Noah Stevens has made 10 appearances this year. That's probably double what he expected, if he expected that many. So yeah, I reckon Big Al off the bench, bring him on after 25, 30 minutes, let him have a run at the Salford pack and get used to it again.
It's good to see bodies coming back, isn't he? Obviously, George Delaney's got a bit of a niggle. He'll be back soon enough. The band's coming back together.
Well, as someone said on one of the groups we're in, it's good to have the problem now that we've got players who you're not going to be able to fit into the team, because you're getting your players back fit, rather than you're thinking, oh my God, who's going to play where? And you're looking at your reserves and your youngsters coming through who've made a handful of appearances and thinking, we're leaning on these heavily here. Yeah, it's a good headache for Wello to have.
Yeah, I think the team this week will be very, very similar to Hull then. Robertson fullback, Makinson and Ritson will on the wings. I think T. Ritson will keep his place. I thought he had his best game in the Saints jersey on Saturday. He looked a lot more composed. Centres, Mark Percival, and I suspect Wonga will get the nod, but I'd give it to Ben Davis. Moses and Lewis in the halves. Matty Lees and Parsley starting as props. Darryl Clark at hooker. Whitley, Siren and Knowles. And then on the bench, I think it'll be Batchelor, Bell, Burns and Big Al.
Yeah. Can't argue that.
Salford?
Yeah, just one change. Where Tim Laffey has been banned for a week, and Cade Cust comes in to replace him. And before Saints fans get too happy with the fact that Tim Laffey isn't playing, he also didn't play when we played him at Salford in June, and he still managed to beat us. So one man does not make a team when it comes to Salford.
Nick Arima's been added to that squad as well after signing from Catalan, another dangerous player. It's a real test for us this week, and I think that's testament to Salford are a bit like kryptonite for us.
Yes.
They always play well against us, it seems.
Yeah, the sum of their parts, you probably look at it and you think, you know what, we're better there and we're better here, and you can pick some of the players out and think, yeah, we've got a better player in X position, Y position, all the way through. But they, as a unit, are fantastic. It must be a joy for their fans to watch Salford at times. They look like they can score from anywhere. Well, they did against us. They seem to be able to keep hold of a few of the players. Yes, some of the names do move on, but the latest one is Callum Watkins being linked with Leeds, and Salford aren't up for letting him go. And good on him. They seem to bring in the right calibre of player and the right fit for them. They don't just bring anyone in. They've got to fit, and they seem to be, whether it be cast-offs or players who haven't quite done it or are coming to the end of their career, and they all fit in nicely with them. Yeah, they lost the likes of Ackers and Croft, but they have that. Well, we'll just go and find the next one, and it works for him. And fair play to him. You can't knock him, can you?
Predictions?
A tight one. Again, I said Saints 8 by 8 last week, and it was by 40. Was it 40 in the end? I'm going to stick with Saints by 8, just nicking a close one and it being far too close for comfort and us just getting over the line in the last 10.
Yeah, let's go Saints by 6. This isn't the end of the show, but when it's the end of your life, Saints have partnered with the local funeral agency, Special Funerals, to make available a pair of officially licensed funeral vehicles. That's one thing you never thought you were going to see today.
No, it isn't.
But do you know what? There's a market for this. I believe Warrington have done similar in recent years. I was looking today. Testimonial from the Adams family, who we're talking about Mr. Adams, who's been a Warrington fan for over 60 years, and his wife said it was only fitting that they used the service because after 60 years, they were delighted that they could let him down one more final time. Redvee Raffles, Kevin. As we've discussed in recent weeks, that Mark Percival signed match-worn jersey with the bespoke sponsor on that was only worn at Catalan away. It's a very unique jersey. We will be raffling it off on our social media. All proceeds will go to the 2026 Australia Academy Tour Fund, and full details of how you can enter this month's draw for that jersey will be on our socials on Friday morning. I've wrote that to make sure that I've actually got to do it.
Good. Yeah. A good price for someone to win that.
Yes. And this academy tour won't fund itself, Kevin. Next
Yeah.
generation of stars coming through. We want them to experience going beating Penrith.
Yes, well, we do need them to, need to get them over there, get that experience into them. It'll do them good in the long term.
Happy days. Right, that's us done and dusted, Kevin.
Excellent.
I was reading on the club's website as well. You can actually have your funeral at the stadium now. Your actual funeral.
Okay.
You can use the Redvee cafe bar for it.
Okay.
They must have got the idea when they went in after the game and looked a bit like a morgue.
You know, you said it's a good job we're not mourning. Was that a little moan there at the end?
There you go. There's a moan. Completely underutilized that cafe bar. Did we talk about it the other week? We went in there after, who did we play? Whoever we played, was it Cass? Cass at home. We lost 8-6. We come out the ground and you think, do you know what? I'll go in the cafe bar. I think it was Italy. Was it Italy, Portugal, or somebody in the Euros in the quarter final? And it went to extra time. You think, do you know what? Let's go and have a drink and watch the last 20 minutes of the game. And what did they have on? They had a rerun of Cass Hull from the week before on one screen, the last leg or something on another, and some old film on another screen. And you think, do you not want business? Or do you literally, do you want to clean the bar off and get everybody to go home rather than actually, you've got a captive audience once every few weeks to serve an ale to. You've got a facility there at the stadium. You just need to put 2 bar staff on and something on the telly. There you go. There's the moan for the day.
Yeah, sorry everybody. I've started him off.
You just rewind and go reflect on that lovely little bit of comedy. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you on Thursday night. And the mic might work, it might not, but we are working on a solution. Catch you soon.